Cador, Water of Cador. On behalf of the Principe Sen Patrina, I must request we meet in parley. Eccoci. It has been some time since I last asked another's permission. I have heard some marvelous tales regarding your ventures in the Deerwood. In fact, you are the first dragon slayer I have ever met, outside of a grave. Some fools would seek to make a fortune by pilfering from one such as you.
He's done his research. Might as well hear him out.
I believe you have met such a fool. Captain Benweth of the Drake. Voksen of Ubildet Merla. Careful, ship hunter. Mind that you do not confuse a useful skill set for a non-expendable one. My apologies. Rest assured, it will not happen again.
Apologies, Captain. Didn't mean it, really. We're up all night, you know, searching out our friend here. You've been at sea a while. Your mind starts playing tricks on you, aye? Well, mine plays tricks on others, too. Usually don't mean much. Maybe see a bit of shadow, hear a bit of tune. Not less a person sensitive. Like, say, a watcher.
Allow me to introduce one of my more special acquisitions. A diamond in the rough, if you will. Seraphin is a magnificent ship hunter. In fact, he is how we tracked you.
Not to say that I ain't wildly honored to be making the acquaintance of a lady as charming as yourself.
This is the first you are hearing of us, truly. We are a magnificent but largely landless people. So we have come to own the sea. To survive, we must seize prosperity where we can. Hence, we're oft labeled as pirates, smugglers, merchants of illicit trade, or mercenaries. It will not always be so, but it is for now. Ah, the short-sighted scoundrel has been wreaking havoc in the area for months. He is no son of Valia. I do not fault his ancestry, but he disregards too much the grand heritage we Principi represent. Benweth is the second most selfish captain within the Principi's newest generation. He risks all that we value. Perhaps I have said too much. This is a problem solely of my own. For now. We are descended from refugees who fled during Old Valia's decline. They sailed the eastern reach to the Deadfire, but they did not settle the islands. Today, even, our shipboard life continues. Few pirates retire comfortably, Amica. We sink and we hang or we burn. We must replace our losses, accepting from many regions, including the Deadfire. Benweth is no captain of mine, Amica. It is not beneath my flag his Drake sails. Yet I do seek to temper his actions when they would endanger the Principe altogether. Are you saying if we rile you, you will pose no threat to us? Eccoci. Pardon if I do not believe you, Dragon Slayer. Word of Benweth's raid on the Defiant will spread throughout the Deadfire. More fools will seek to prey upon you. I would suggest you stave off all others by making an example of Benweth.
For our tease, do my job for me, friend. Hope you don't die in the effort.
I will be honest with you, Anika. I do not favor Benweth, nor do I care for the company he keeps. Such fools and scoundrels serve only to tarnish the Principe's reputable name. But I believe you will be capable of setting him straight. Of course, Amika. Work with me, and I will weight your pockets with gold. When you have dealt with my problem, I will prepare a fine welcome for you at my port. Now, a tip for you. Benweth's Drake took damage during the storm. Eventually, he will need to dock for repairs, and when he does, Seraphin can find him for you. He is rather an unrefined creature, but he is a most skilled ship hunter, I assure you.
Unrefined? Begging your pardon, Captain, but I'd be the fucking model of the gentleman of fortune. As for Benweth, that sucker of squid tits be as predictable as the tide. Wager all my furriest bits that he'd set sail for Deadlight.
That would be felicitous indeed, as I believe the traitor Remaro hides there as well. I quite enjoy killing two men with a single bullet.
Wouldn't have even thought of it if you hadn't brought it up, sir. Now, I ain't hardly in any hurry to leave the fine company of the gentlemen of leisure, but the captain be right about me finding your mark. Adding to that, you sail into Fort Deadlight not knowing your innies from your outies. You might very well find the locals cannon fucking your boat to sodden splinters.
What venture does not require an investment to be prosperous? The Seraphin is an allowance, which I expect you will return, in one payment or another.
Nah, Captain Ferrante and I'll never be truly finished. Not till we've both met Andra face to bosom. And knowing that salty lass, mayhaps not even then. Are you asking aside from my vaunted ship-hunting abilities, self-evident manners, and cyclopedic know-how of all things piratical? Well, there'll be me knowing my way around Fort Deadlight, so named on account of it being a fortress and all. I got my contacts inside, and I'll be half-handy with a gun if shit goes belly up. Adding to that, I'll be right easy on the eyes, or so the lasses tell me. I'll be the old package and a half, Captain.
As you see, Seraphin is both insufferable and marvelously useful.
Well, of course I'll be eager to give Benweth the old Evo. That half-cock's been a pain in our asses for the better part of, well, too fucking long. You said you met him, I? Seems the type that needs a bullet, don't he? Aye, there's boat holds I ain't telling you, Watcher. I ain't telling you about the lass I have back on Deadlight. Ain't telling you what we did or didn't do last time I seen her, neither. Certainly ain't telling you about the secret pirate handshake that'll get you in the door. Oh, you won't be regretting this, Watcher. At least so long as you keep us heavy in grog and light on the onions. Them dirty shit apples ain't never agreed with me, and I'll be suspecting they never will.
He's not sleeping near my berth, I promise you that much.
I sail now for Dunwich, my own safe port. I will await you there, should you be successful in schooling our wayward captain.
Got it.
Agrasima, Casita, for taking me on.
Ahoy, Captain. Truth be told, Ferrante half expects us to get our asses blown out of the water at Fort Deadlight. Fortunately for you, I have this bad habit of beating the odds. Of course, I do that by way of good old traditional chicanery. And the most important part of any hornswoggle? Solid planning. Well, that and surviving. Valian made originally. Piled them stones up a few centuries back, but gave it up when the fishmen wouldn't leave them be. Hard to defend against Wilder crawling up out of your crappers. Captain Aldiz claimed it a few years back. Fucking filthy from bow to stern, and she had her lads and lasses cleaning fish shit out of the floorboards for months. A couple of them thought it might be better sailing elsewhere and left in the night. Aldiz tracked them down quick as you like, took their heads, and fixed them into little lanterns for the front gate. Called them Fort Deadlight's Deadlights. They say she ain't had a deserter since. Tad cruel for my taste, but I admit to admiring the wordplay. Funny thing about it being a fort means it ain't a boat. Means it don't have to worry about the way the cannons are storing honking big balls. Guns they got crowning that castle put a hole in your poop deck before you've sighted land. Fort itself be floor-to-ceiling rum-sodden fools, so that be going for us. But Aldi's keeps the crew on the walls sharp and sober. One blast of their horns and deadlights locked up tight as an deer in mugger night. We'll stay that way too, till any unfamiliar ships have been shot to shit and shot again. She's sharp as shit, that one. Tongue, mind, and ears alike. Sailed out of Deerwood or Adir one. Knows her knots, and how to crew a ship that won't turn sour. But words ring out among the Principe, more than you'd think for new blood. Part of that's her fierce support of freedom, from slavers, from the empires, from the Juana's caste system even. The rest a lenient hand. Step out of line and Ferrante's got your old crew up for lashes. Aldis, though, she's, let's say there's a reason she attracts limp-cocked nut twists like Benwith. Can't say I much approve of a lack of regard for our traditions, but, can't say I don't share her vexations with Ferrante in the old garden either. Shit, Captain. Buy a lad a drink before you go rooting through his unmentionables. Let's leave it enough for now to say I think there be a course to be charted betwixt anarchy and tyranny. I did say contacts, didn't I? Contact would be more accurate, in the singular. A lass by the name of Siri. Been running the same circles for years, doldrums and fair winds. We're never family, but never on the wrong ends of arms, neither. Might have, shaken the sheets a few months back. Regardless of how she feels about me, there's no love lost betwixt her and Benwith, that's for damn certain. Ugh, random? What do you take me for, Captain? Well, I can't say as you're entirely wrong. Deadlight's a tough coconut to crack, but if not cracking, what are nuts for? Might be there's a way to sneak inside. Bet we can find a shady spot to tie up a skiff under the veil of night. Then up the walls and over, quick as you please. Sussing out a place to land without being spotted ourselves require Helia's own eyes. Or a spyglass. You've got a spyglass, I hope? Sure, used to. Then I made the mistake of lending it to Ferrante. Apparently forgot it weren't his. Showed him the S I carved into it and he turned around and told me it stood for spyglass. There's an important lesson to be learned there. You take something to see, you hold grip on it real tight. Oh, then let me recommend you remedy yourself there, Captain. A good spyglass be like a good lover. Shows you the bits you'd have missed otherwise. Aye, Captain. Looking forward to watching you work. Not to be telling you your business, Cap, but if we don't set sail for Deadfire, mate, or rid Captain Ald, a couple of them, they say she ain't had a deserter since. Tad cruel. Later.
Ship life sure is an adventure, ain't it? Just think of all the places we can sail to, all the sights we could see. This is nothing like being stuck on a farm, or cloistered in the back of a temple. Tell me what's on your mind? My folks, you might say they're not your typical Aethasians. Sure, they cling to the light more than the darkness, but the war, it touched my family, and it changed them. Killed some. Not that I remember firsthand. The others toughened, turned survivors. That much I saw with my own eyes, even years later. Of course, there were few and spread out. Most don't keep to temples. Soul shepherding requires travel. My aunt's the one who taught me about the cycle of life and death, how everything happens in stages. Whether forwards or backwards, from seed to rot to rebirth again, it's all just states of existence and balance. See, that's how I first learned about the slice of Gone within Aethys. After that, I read all the doctrines of Gone. Anything and everything I could get my hands on. The 12 books of Nearwith, plus the epistles from the minor prophets. A lot of them aren't a part of today's canonization, but that doesn't mean they're wrong. It's tradition for the youngest born to take up the priesthood of Aethys. Well, I did it in my own way. No need to fiddle-foot around. They're there in my head when I sleep. And sometimes, I can taste them on the back of my tongue like a smear of grit. Happens when I take in a particularly volatile soul. Go madder than I already am? I don't rightly know. It's not like I can turn my back on my duty to my god, even if it kills me. Sure thing, Watcher.
What's gnawing you?
Thank you again for maintaining my story in front of Vanessa and the others. I didn't enjoy deceiving them, but it seemed simpler than the alternative. I realized there could be nothing between us. But it was nice to have a friend all the same. I almost forgot how much you enjoy a good joke, even at my expense. Forgive me, but you've caught me quite off guard. I'm truly glad to see you again, but it's been 5 years, and we've both been through quite a lot. Perhaps we should focus on the work before us for now. After we parted, I set out to destroy the Leaden Key. It's controlled us for too long. I wanted to free Kith from it. So for 5 years, I've been tracking down Leaden Key circles, searching for the places where they operate in secret, trying to undo them. It does seem idyllic, but the pamphlets fail to mention the worm nests and sea serpents. The task has been more difficult than I anticipated. I don't think I fully understood the weight of the decisions I would have to make, or the burden of living with them. It was much easier when I only had to follow someone else's lead. My father's, Theos's, yours. What matters is that you got us out again. After we defeated Theos, I thought the hard part of undoing his work would be tracking down the Leaden Key's members and operations. Perhaps this would be easier with an example. I went to a village in Old Valia, a run-down backwater of a place. Aye, right home like it was. Centuries ago, the Leaden Key had intervened to end some heretical cult. The details were lost, but what had endured was a practice of ritual bloodletting. A gruesome, pointless tradition. At every full moon, the villagers would feed the soil with their blood. No one, young or old, sick or hale, was exempt. Yes, but the specifics depended on whom you asked. Some thought it would ward off Scan, or bring Bereth's favor on the village, or Gon's blessing to their crops. The village priest administered the practice. Grim old fellow. Reminded me of Theos.
Wicked old bunbag, 'tis what the lad means.
He was a tyrant. I was certain that if the villagers were free of his influence, they'd be free from the bloodletting too. So I arranged for him to have an accident. The old man died, and the villagers were terrified. They were convinced his death was an ill omen. They blamed it, and every other mishap that befell them, on their lack of faith. So they began bloodletting every week, turning on their neighbors for giving too little. Instead of a handful dying each year, a few perished every week. I had to do something, didn't I? I keep wondering what I might have done differently, or how I could have known better. Perhaps so. I should get some rest. It's been a long day, and you've given me a lot to think about. Ah, that. I'm looking for an old leaden key sect. I've found several references, but I want to be sure. Please, let me go over my notes again. Then I promise I'll tell you everything. You know me too well. All the same, I need to gather my thoughts.
If you told me a few years ago that I'd end up following you on another crazy errand, I'd have said you were out of your mind. Not because I got anything against you, more that trouble seems to come looking for you wherever you go. Yet, here we are again, probably on our way to die. Well, you already did, but me, I mean. All real nice of you to share. Someday I'll have to get you a gift. And wouldn't you know it, this time is shaping up to be crazier than the last one. But I gotta say, I appreciate how you've handled things. Times like these, staying decent's not as easy as it sounds. Thought you were weird at first, of course, but you've surprised me. There's something to that. I like to think I'm the same way. Except I chose to believe in the goodness of a giant statue that kills everything it passes. Sometimes I have second thoughts about that. I've been meaning to ask, though. How is it you never seem to lose your way through all this? What is it tells you you're on the right path? That's an interesting way of looking at it. Don't know if it's right, but I bet there's less worrying. When I was a boy, things were simpler. Aethys was more like a character we read about in church. Now, most stories had him helping folks or making the world work as it should. You pray to him, he might help you too. There was no cost to it. No confusion about his will or followers taken into extremes. Following Aethys was right. Had no reason to question. Do you think there's any way that following him could still be the right path? After all we've seen? I guess we'll see what he has in store soon enough. If we make it that far. Anyway, I didn't mean for this to get depressing. I think this was just a long way of saying, I appreciate the way you've guided things. Makes me feel like I'm doing some good, going with you.
The ring of a bell comes to you on a cold wind. The ring comes again and again, until soon the air is full with the sound of 1,000 bells ringing all at once. You are alone. And then, you are not. An indistinct figure stands before you, flickering between forms like a fire-cast shadow. A fixed, taunting grin. Bottomless black eyes. A yawning chasm in the earth. The aspects of Berith, the Usher and the Pallid Knight, shift in and out of focus. And at their back, 4 indistinct shades hover. You feel an eternity stretch out behind each of them, reaching back to places so distant and yet so near you cannot comprehend their size. The shifting image of Berith settles on the aspect of the Pallid Knight.
Watcher, I tasked you to discover Aethys's intentions. Tell me what you have learned.
The Pallid Knight knits her brows.
He does not seek to return to the Beyond? Intriguing.
Her sickly pale skin pulls tight across the bones of her face, as if the shell of this aspect does not quite fit the impossible creature it contains. The figure nearest Berith dissolves and reforms in the image of a thin-lipped, ancient crone, whose face has felt the melting kiss of fire. The goddess Wodica strides forward.
Does Aethys frighten you, Berith? He should. Magran subdued Aethys's influence once before, and yet he returned.
From out of Wodica's shadow shuffles a hunched, bald man you recognize as the god Scan. His skin is mapped with swollen lash scars, and breath whistles through the ragged hole in his face, where his nose once was. He does not speak, but stares up at Wodica, with naked loathing plain on his ruined face. Wodica steeples her long, knob-jointed fingers.
We must annihilate Aethys now, before he makes a rash decision we cannot easily annul.
She casts a sly look at the Pallid Knight from the corners of her eyes.
A moon would do the job nicely.
Wodica throws her head back and laughs. The sound is a dry, rasping bark.
Andra could do with a new act. Her current one has grown rather stale.
They see to their own affairs. You will speak to them in time, should you have the need.
The figure beside the aspect of Berith flows forward in a swirling cloud of ash. The ash falls to the tiles and reveals a molten-skinned woman, leaning on a monstrous, wicked-edged broadsword. Magran's glowing lips curl in disdain.
We must find a solution to the problem of Aethys that is neither do nothing, nor destroy the world. I acted in haste during the Saints' War. You will not goad me into doing the same now. To move against him while his plans are unknown would be the height of foolishness. We must find wisdom in precaution.
Magran looks at you as one might a wayward gob of spit on one's shoe.
It is no business of yours what the gods decide.
Another of the silent figures steps forward, and the warm, golden light of a summer's afternoon spills across your face.
Let's all take a deep, calming breath. Perhaps cooler heads will prevail.
Behind Helia's words, you hear the soft coo of doves.
Aethys has been separated from us for too long. Isn't it possible he intends only to gather enough souls to reclaim his realm in the Beyond? He should be welcomed.
You look up then into avian eyes. Through them, you see clouds of starlings converge and divide. Helia puts a feathered hand to her chest.
He wouldn't. Betrayal is not in his nature.
Scan shuffles forward.
Yes, yes. We should welcome Aethys's return to the fold. His gratitude we can leverage to cajole him into divulging his plot. Then, when he believes himself to be in our good graces, we do as Wedica suggests, and crush him into the earth.
Scan pauses, inspecting you.
Ah, and here is the Watcher who killed Lord Harren. The man who tormented his dear niece, Alice.
Scan licks the ragged edge of his lipless mouth and grins, then turns to Helia.
I did not expect such a deliciously ruthless idea from you, Helia. I am impressed.
Helia's feathered crest stands on end.
You wretched little creature.
Your point is well made, little watcher. If self-evident, Aethys has not been known to possess a vindictive nature. Indeed, he has occasionally been magnanimous to a fault. However, if we push him to the brink of reason, there is no telling what he may do. He is, as ever, unpredictable.
Something akin to fondness creeps into her voice. The Pallid Knight gestures for silence.
Aethys cannot be killed, but he may be subdued. Yet to do so will take immense power and time. Both stand in his favor.
Magrin grits her black glass teeth.
That is why we must ascertain his plans before he has the chance to put them into motion.
She begins to pace. Her steps leave little trails of fire in her wake. Magrin stops and balls her hands into flaming fists.
Even if we manage to destroy his current form, there is the possibility he could return, if he has not already absorbed all of his children.
The Pallid Knight casts a cold, cutting glare in Magrin's direction.
Magrin speaks too freely. That knowledge is beyond your ken, Watcher.
Wodica waves the gods to silence.
Aethys gathers strength. His strength is a threat to us.
Her voice takes on a sharp, almost panicked edge.
There is no sensible answer to the question of a resurgent Aethys, other than decisive, final action.
Your opinion is unasked for and unnecessary, but noted nonetheless.
Though her tone is impassive, the banked fury in her eyes says well enough what she thinks of your interruptions.
We will act when it is appropriate to do so, and not before.
The Pallid Knight steps away from the half-circle of assembled gods. She pulls herself up to a great height. The words she speaks next come not from her mouth, but from all around you.
Follow him, Watcher.
The black of the Pallid Knight's irises expand until her eyes are as dark and cold as the void between stars. She bends down and brings her ghostly face level with your own.
Your debt to me remains unpaid.
She stares at you, unblinking. Like a needle drawn to a magnet, you are pulled toward her one compulsory step at a time. You blink open your eyes and find yourself on the floor of your ship's cabin, alone.
I must say, our adventures together have been a welcome change of pace. You know what I mean. When we first met in the Deerwood, you were struggling for your sanity. Now you're fighting for your soul. I can't imagine the weight of that burden. And yet you've borne it, and more remarkably. I'm glad it appears so, though the gods have sent you after Aethys. And every power of note in Deadfire has their own plans for you. That puts you in a position of incredible influence. It is sometimes difficult to gauge what truly matters to you, but I'm pleased to see that you don't take your responsibilities lightly. If only more people did as much. I hope you'll remember this in the days to come. For the first time in a long while, I feel truly confident in where I'm going. What I'm doing. With you, I mean. I'm so rarely sure of anything. Not the least when it comes to the grand affairs of gods and kith. But you always seem so certain. Somehow you know what must be done and you don't hesitate. I admire that. That's precisely what I mean. I don't know that I could trust myself with the decisions you're making. My own brief time hunting the leaden key has taught me there's nothing enviable about the position you're in. Whatever my faults, a lack of self-awareness is not among them. Perhaps what I mean is, if we must be caught between the gods and the wheel, then I'm glad you're on our side. I gladly would. Now I hope you'll excuse me, but I really must review my grimoire.
All this chasing after Aethys, it's brought back memories of the Saints' War. Just how scared everyone was, mostly. Everybody put on a brave face, made all these claims about what they'd do when they met a god in battle. There was no sadder sight than a group of us talking big, trying to outdo one another. Even the fella that led us, he used to say he knew all these different ways you could kill a god, if you were so inclined. Of course, at night he'd grind his teeth so hard it sounded like he was chewing rocks, in case you were curious if he really had it in him. We'll probably both have some scary-looking smiles before long. Point being, the prospect of facing a god makes cowards of most all of us. And now, here I am again, on my way to meet Aethys. Some ways I feel the same. Edgy, sick in my gut. Might be because of you. Maybe, but you wear it well. You could have let it all end back at Cadnua, or even Gilded Vale. But you're still going, even knowing where we're headed. Haven't forgot who you are. There's part of me thinks we aren't gonna make it out of this. When I get to thinking like that, it helps to remember how you've held together. What do you think? We gonna survive all this? Whether or not I believe it, I like it just the same. Yeah, I go back and forth myself. Every time we see one of those big footprints, it reminds me not to get too excited. There's a good chance we die out here, halfway across the world from anywhere I ever called home. But if I can face it like you, maybe it doesn't matter. Sure, all kinds. Respect, curiosity about your watcher senses, confusion, a lot of that. Oh, you mean, well, I'm real fond of you, in case I wasn't clear. But in terms of stronger feelings, I haven't felt much that way about anybody in a long time. Doesn't cross my mind, hardly. That's nothing to do with you. That's things I never sorted out from way back when. Maybe in another life. Don't get me wrong. You feeling that way, if that is how you feel, that means a lot. I hope you don't think less of me. I like what we got going here. It's closer than I've been to anyone in, I don't know, ages. I'll tell you what, though. I'm not one for big promises, but I'm gonna beat up as many people and monsters as it takes to get you your life back. You got my word on that.
You're far from home, farmer. How did you make it all this way in your little boat?
Why do we gotta be farmers just because we're from Deerwood?
Are you a farmer?
Yeah, but you can't just assume. We got rabble-rousers, too.
I'm the harbor master, Kauha. I must ask your reason for docking in Nekataka. Akorame, Wayhen. No one gets through without good reason. Not even locals.
Show them. Show them what you are. Yes. Yes. That's it.
What's the matter with you? What are you doing? If you're trying to scare us with some cipher mischief, save the purple flames for the tribes of the Outer Islands.
Now.
What? What is this?
Run for it!
I think I got a ghost up my nose there. That's better.
Sure.
Need a fresh jacket or pants? Something more delicate? If take your time.
Hold a moment. You may visit the palace and its shrine, but be warned. The Queen meets with trading company vipers. Take care you are not bitten. Mere words. You will find her in her throne room through the door behind me. Inform the guards of your purpose. Whether the Queen will hear you above the baying of her guests is another matter.
Sure.
While I am flattered by the esteemed Hazanui's confidence, I must wonder how my people are meant to have destroyed an entire colony overnight.
You tell us. It's no coincidence that your outpost at Port Mage survived the recent storm.
You speak as if I could command the tides, while you are casting your blame in a wide net. Why not look to our Kahunga allies? We do not share their talent for shaping water.
I say our guest forgets himself.
Brother, stand down. You are the one who mistakes my throne room for a sparring arena. I say this is beneath us. An interesting visitor in difficult times. You cannot be here to deliver a favorable omen. Allow me to apologize as I toss you before the wolves. This one is a watcher blessed by Tangaloa. I suspect that many of our questions about Hasongo will soon be answered.
Huck, I know this one. Her parlor tricks frightened 10 years of every sailor in Queen's Berth.
We assembled to discuss the darkening of Hasongo, one of Rawatai's colonies. Watcher, it seems you have the floor.
Huh. What sailor's tale is this?
There's no sane explanation for what's been happening. You keep waiting for one, it'll be too late.
Does tilling the soils of the Eastern Reach drive all men mad? You sound as crazy as the Dawnstar Dreamers.
Have you not heard the rumors, Karu? An Adra Colossus marching across the sea. Sailor tales, but credible ones.
Cantanichese. I'm acquainted with the Watcher of Cadnua from my assignments in Defiance Bay and Twin Elms.
Diverus? It explains the colorful nature of your reports.
I have seen things with her that are not even told in the most outlandish of sailors' tales.
And I'm supposed to take 2 Valians at their word?
How came a watcher from half the world away to be involved in these happenings? Enlighten the court. Tracking down a god who stands as tall as a mountain, a fisherman with poor eyesight could do this. My priests will trip over their feet to interpret his divine plan. Watcher, can you cut through the din and tell for what he comes to the Deadfire? How resourceful of you. The Isles are studded with enough luminous Adra to bankroll an economy. I believe our course is clear. We will send the Watcher to Hasongo, set sail to the west of Nekataka. I would tell you to keep a weather eye out for a lighthouse, but the God of Light did not appreciate competition. Something to add, Hazanui? You have an eager look about you. She believes herself entitled to my ear, I say.
Only that Hasongo is a Rawataian outpost. It would be useful for the Watcher to take one of ours along.
Ma'am.
Maya's an expert sailor and a better sharpshooter. The best the Brass Citadel has to offer. Whatever comes your way, she'll see it first.
If it gets me and Ashiza out of diplomat duty, we'd set sail with a drunk scolder at the helm.
And shut us out entirely? We have every right to know of any hazards in these waters. Palagino, go with the Watcher. See that the Republics are served in this investigation.
Ah, Your Excellency. Hamed Kongswalias.
That will be enough parading of champions for now. I'm certain that our guest knows how to assemble a crew. Akira, if you can stand the chattering of unlike minds on your ship, that is your prerogative.
Oh, good thing I'm already accustomed to cramped quarters and temperamental birds.
We both have our orders. I have no interest in interfering with you as long as you do not interfere with me.
I believe we are finished here. Aruihi? Aren't we popular? Take care at Hasongo. The Deadfire was overfull before Aethys blundered in. And take care with your trading company spies.
I say it is beyond time our guests lick their wounds somewhere else.
Let's...
we have the chance.
I know exactly what you're thinking. You're asking yourself, how did I let the Royal Deadfire Company plant an informant in my crew? My superiors might expect me to report in from time to time, but don't read too much into it. You're not the only big thing happening around here. I'm in this for a lot of information, a little diplomacy, and plenty of target practice. This whole campaign is a risk-benefit analysis. The Navy knows you're a gamble, and they're factoring in all potential losses. Raotai is here to do some good work, since the Huana can't seem to do it themselves. Maybe just try and stay out of our way. Better that you hear it from me than someone else, right? The company isn't in the business of reassigning officers outside of the mission unless they've got a damn good reason. And you are a damn good reason. Take the compliment. Then I look forward to seeing how long it takes before you find yourself in someone's back pocket. Oh, guess you ought to meet the bird. Ishi is smarter than he looks, but don't expect him to do any tricks. Ishi, come.
That's a good-looking bird. Hey, Birdie. Hey, Birdie.
Takes practice before he'll listen to you properly, but that's a good start. Did your friend suffer a head wound? Before we get into deeper waters, I've got a question. You've got a ship and a title. Being captain means more than just wearing a big hat. A lot of tough calls to be made. Life at sea, it does have a way of simplifying things down to the bare elements. A crew can be like family. They can also be like a nest of squalling infants. Let's say your galley cook was fixing to organize the rest of the crew into a mutiny. How would you handle it? Uh-huh. Never would have guessed that option was on the table, but there you have it. Of course, the only right answer is the one that works in a given time and place. I just wanted to hear yours. Mostly preemptive measures. We try to pull the weeds before they reach the garden. But enough about me. Glad to be aboard, Captain. I've got some answers. Sure am. And I heard that you two spent some time together. Funny how the gods toss things together. He came back from the Deerwood with his head full of stories about the Angwithans. Used them to make an argument for our expansion into the north, and by the gods did people ever listen. He lost some of that childish glow, but the weird ideas stayed with him. You clearly had some sway on his opinions, more than I ever did. Wish you had told Kana to give up on the poetry. He's got no ear for it. If you want to hear a voice like a powder keg belting out Raotayan anthems while you're running at a dragon, be my guest. Some of us find it distracting. I do with bullets what Kana did with words. Just in case you were wondering, the comparison ends there. Uh-oh. That's his "I'm hungry and you're wasting my time" face. Better step back, Captain. I won a shooting competition at the Ranganui's estate. This was a few years before enlisting with the Navy. As a reward, he gave me the freedom of the Royal Eyrie and said I could take my pick of the warbirds. Stinkfeathers here kicked a rather pretty hawk off my arm so he could have me all to himself. Been inseparable ever since. Well, my parents came from the Deadfire. I'm getting a taste of my roots. After they immigrated to Raotai, their talents caught the Ranganui's eye. He saw them as this spectacle, this achievement of the old country, I guess. So they were honored guests. Not many Huana rose to distinction in Takoa. We were also curiosities. Even as we broke the same bread and tossed back the same wine, the Ranganui's friends always checked under the table to see if I had a tail. Kana thought it was hilarious. No, I don't. Can't speak for all the tribes, though. Growing up in the Ranganui's shadow wasn't all bad. We had tutors and advisors at our disposal, and lots of folk from stranger parts than these. I spent my days learning to shoot, while my more academic siblings learned to express themselves. I leave you to judge who spent their time better. Speak freely.
I am ready. Here we are again, Watcher. I thought we had seen the last of each other after the Hollowborn crisis. It didn't go quite as I had planned, but it all worked out in the end. Well, you're still standing and breathing, aren't you? You only have to ask. Quay. Menea was a good companion and a skilled warrior. But her imagination got the better of her. It appears to have gotten the better of you as well. Good. I have no concerns, Watcher. Where I am assigned is of no concern to me. But I do think the Deadfire can be profitable for the Republics. If the Dukes need me here, I am glad to serve them. Whatever they are up to cannot be good for any of us. At their best, the gods are powerful children. At worst, they are little more than mad beasts taking out their anger on our world. I have little interest in distinguishing which type Aothas is. After we parted ways, I returned to the Republics and reported to the Duke's bells. I explained that allowing the Deerwood to retain some trading rights with Air Glanfath would be more beneficial for everyone in the years to come. They were furious, of course. I was lucky I escaped with my life. They stripped me of my breastplate and scoured the suns from it. Then I was put on a ship for Red Ceres. I floated from port to port, working as a guard for almost 3 years, before the Duke Espirento sent word to me that my presence was requested in Biagepe. The Dukes had decided that the trade they had developed between Air Glanfa, the Deerwood, and the Republics was a boon in the long run. Much like you, I never expected to see them again. I didn't get an apology, but I accepted a pardon from the Duke Biagepe.
She means well. I can see that. And she's spirited, and if I was still young and didn't know the things I know, it'd be different. But anybody got that much faith in any god, let alone Aothas? I don't know how to talk to someone like that. Not these days. I get why she's like that. I was there once, a long time back. But it's 'cause of that I can't see a way to respect it. I'm no good at hiding it from her either. I don't see this getting better. Doesn't seem like she's any different than what she shows. Same thing, really. That's just her trying to find a way to worship Aothas that makes sense to her. I guess that sounds familiar now that you mention it.
Nago. You have truly put your foot in it this time.
Welcome, welcome. I am Ganor, owner and proprietor of the Luminous Bathhouse. If there's any way I might make your visit more comfortable, you need only ask. My friend, you return. Of course you would. Just speak with the steward near the stairs. He will make certain you are treated well. Casita Vetta's servant? The irritating one? Yes, he was here tending her just a few days ago. He tried to sneak into one of my rooms and told me a pathetic sob story when he was caught. I had the guards toss him out on the street.
Can't do it.
The cost of enjoying the bathhouse's unique offering is 1,000 copper per session. A prudent question. The bathwaters are infused with hand-refined luminous adra, which promotes a holistic balance of the humors. Because of luminous adra's remarkable qualities, it is also a significant investment to both supply and maintain. Ganor may tell you more if you're curious. He is something of an amateur alchemist, in addition to being a businessman of remarkable skill and insight. Would that it were so. Ganor would make good money, and perhaps I would receive a raise, yes? You, I like. We see eye to eye on many things, I suspect. A small discount for you, friend, for making me laugh. 900 copper. Arms and armor are not allowed in the baths. Should you wish to bathe, you will need to change into your bathing attire.
I had seen the bathhouse before, but never entered. I admit its beauty rivals even the salt baths of Guelphi.
Tekehu, you have shirked your duties for the last time, I say.
Guildmaster, be reasonable. I skipped one lecture to travel up the mountain. Still, the palace is closed until you present me before Onikaza.
You went alone. I asked for patience, but as usual, you make a trench out of a tide pool. Akira, I might not complain if someone slapped him with an oar.
My patience wears thin, old shark. You have stifled me enough for one trip through Rakuhu's bowels.
I say Ngati weeps at her petulant spectacle of a child.
You see, Myru? Finally, one who appreciates my birthright.
For a water shaper who treasures his duty to the goddess, you spend too many days cavorting at the brothel.
Ugh, insufferable. A cozy, madam. Of all the exotic birds in the Deadfire, I have seen none with plumage as fine as yours.
Stop there, Blanca. I did not ask for your buffoonish compliments, nor do I want them.
Then this rooster will give the hen a wide berth. I had not expected the prince to respond so quickly. Serpent's crown is under pressure, I say. And what exactly did Prince Aruihi tell you? Black market? This has nothing to do with my problem. Unless the prince did not mention anything about water shapers? I had thought the guild would be his first concern. It seems I was wrong, because of what I told him in confidence. Let us speak of this somewhere else. One can never tell who is listening. To the gullet, then. A watcher. And here I am, used to being the freak of Pariki's Overlook. Outside of the Mataru priests, we don't get many spirit readers. You are not unknown to me, I say. Whispers of an Adra Colossus reach my ears, and louder whispers of a corpse who follows him. What will you do when you catch up to this walking god? Ha! For me, there is not enough rum in the Deadfire to even consider it. If it untangles me from the guild's apron strings, then you can mount me as the figurehead of your fair ship. Our quarters may smell of fish before long, but your crew will be more beautiful by association, I say. Lead on. It will be good to put some distance between myself and the guild, even if we find less savory places along the way. A fair warning, Captain. Ingati gifted her favorite son with more than his stunning complexion. Leave the lure out of this, Captain. I say you will learn, in time.
A life without friction or challenge has left the boy in need of guidance. He thinks himself frail, but my heart beats in his chest. He is stronger than either of you could know.
Captain, what say? You look a little blue about the gills. Ingati spoke to you. Ha! To leave her son guessing. Oh, this is my tricksome mother through and through. What mother doesn't? You must be special indeed for Ingati to speak with words. For her people, she lays out cryptic stepping stones hidden in omens. Akira, but send her my fondest wishes. Akira, what say? Haruihi would not have told you the entire story. There is a good reason. Whatever is happening in the gullet, I believe that water shapers are at the center of it. Let me explain. When water shapers are not attending to their duties, they are dispatched into the city. Nekataka's great sculptures require some maintenance to hold their form. Unless you are Ngati's chosen, Myru keeps a tight leash. One evening, I snuck out and followed a group of shapers. I expected to find myself in Serpent's Crown. And to my surprise, they went down to the gullet. There are no water sculptures in the Raparu district. The crown only flaunts our power where it can be displayed for foreigners. At least, a better class of foreigners than the type who frequent the gullet. We are not forbidden from entering the gullet, but it is simply not done. If they have broken the crown's law, I simply want to know how and why. You have questions? Akira, I have answers. Between the crown and the guild, Nekataka has high hopes for Ngati's chosen son, I say. If Ngati had not blessed me, I say the goddess touched me for more than enriching one tribe, glorifying one island. If people need hope, they should pray harder, or look to their own grindstone. I say there is me, Takehu, and there is the Takehu others would make like a coconut husk doll.
You mean the one people would play with?
Anyone with the strength to pick me up may play with me, friend Shelly. The more I try to be the Takehu I know I am, the harder I am constrained. What say? But it is the adoring people who made Takehu the savior of the tribes. Many think that I have a duty to the Huana. I say I am the only one unconvinced. Rubbish, I say. Heroes are made for tragic ends and handsome corpses. I know how I seem. We did not have this word, conceded, before Adirans landed on the Isles. If Ngati had not touched me, I wonder if anyone would care.
Poor boy. He has it backward, as usual. I did not choose him so that he could do great things. I chose him because talent should be fostered toward any end. How fortunate that you are here to set him on the right path. I know you won't disappoint.
Apologies. I say I never miss an opportunity to talk about myself. You have questions? Kara, I have answers. The Kahunga are my tribe, but my people settled on Atua, an island too modest to deserve the attention of maps. My mortal mother tans boar hides. My father trades in the abundance of pearls and opals Atua is blessed to provide. When I was born, Father called me his blue topaz boy. Doubtless, I say. But I am the most precious gem of recent history. Godlike are revered as bringers of local change, but only Ngati's Chosen is thought to deliver an omen for all Huana at once. Ikera, high winds stirred the vigor of the seas. 2 huts collapsed before our local storm speaker could shout down the weather. They say the skies only cleared when I fell into the midwife's basket. Peace had returned to the island, or so the Mataru predicted. I could not be kept from the water, so my father taught me how to dive for pearls and azada snails. Ngati filled my palms with riches on every harvest, I say. When I came of an age to begin a man's pursuits, the Mataru reached out to the Kahanga Queen. Weighing my arrival against the forces that descended on her territory, the Queen could not invite Ngati's Chosen into the Water Shapers Guild fast enough. In hard times, the endorsement of a goddess is more valuable than currency. Kara, speak on. The art of our ancestors, I say. To bend water to our will is a gift from Mother Ngati to her chosen people. Since devastation swept our way of life out to sea, too much of the art has been lost. Periki, founder of the guild, organized the lore of Ngati's talent into a series of postures and meditations we call the 4 forms of water shaping. Try as we might to embody Ngati's element, our bodies are not water. Ikera, this is the form of grief, a beginner's test. The body's internal water is a force that conquers all. Even the mountain will bow to the stream. The form of hope, I say. Water commands its vessel, and the vessel can be shaped as surely as the mountain. The art is a challenge to grasp, difficult to master, and impossible to perfect. Unless you are Ngati's Chosen, I say. It is only by force of habit that I omit the final form. We do not speak of it in the guild, the form of transcendence. Only a story, I say. Even crafty Periki could not commit this ancient form to her scrolls. It was said that our ancestors could shape the very oceans of the Deadfire. This was Ngati's true gift, but we have yet to recover it from the ruins of our past. Try as we might, the art is a
Sure.
I got nowhere else to turn. Stonehill is going to kill me.
Don't drag me into your mess, Bertenno. Not again.
Then you leave me no choice. I'm sorry.
Hey, come back with that! Madiko!
Would you look at
that
this?
flaccid pazzo! Imp, you had none of that hack? That's what I thought. What am I going to do? Think, Fascina. Very funny. Bertenno just took Rokawa's fingers, which is no joke to me. He must have wanted to raise some fast coin. Arkemir will flay me alive over those damned gloves. Is it strange? I don't know. Go consult Arkemir's grimoire if you're that curious. Not that it's any of your business, but Berthe, I got into... And before you ask, no, He said that he's in debt to us. You do not... Whatever he loses from those gloves, you will? If you are expecting some payment or reward, I do need to keep this under wraps. You look capable. A discount goes without saying. I do not know where Bertenno fences his goods. Hamuto Stonehill must be as dangerous as he sounds. Imp, go hang low. Get inside the man. Ifren tried to sneak in. Now he's stuck in a box, telling for the imps that got Arkemir. Do with that what you will. I am the what few spells are. He made me conjurer. I think it's because he knows I hate them. He makes me call him by the titles he's earned in his long. I can also call him by the... To me, he's the bringer of foul wind, the teeth... Bertenno Stolroca. Suddenly... Locked doors tend to have keys. What? Just unlock the door? Bozzo, your plan is so poorly concocted that you had to tell me about it. I am beyond finished discussing this. If...
Halt! What is your business at the Brass Citadel? You're the Watcher. The one who nearly caused a riot in Queensburg. The Grand Secretary at Sura wants to meet you. His office is on the lower level of Imperial Command. Up the stairs. Once you're inside, go downstairs through the room on the right. Her office is at the back of Imperial Command. She is busy organizing other matters, but I am sure she will grant you an audience.
Leave. No Valian spy is coming through on my watch.
I'm a merchant. I have business inside. The Royal Deadfire Company is a trading company, is it not? And you are on Kahanga soil. You cannot turn me away.
The Brass Citadel and the Royal Deadfire Company operate under the auspices of the Ranga Nui of Rawatai. We answer to him, not to you. And certainly not to some tribal queen of Nekataka. Oh, you're one of those. These Valians are always sending their spies to snoop around. And I won't have it.
And these Rawataians think they own anything they stack 2 stones on top of. I am here to conduct business, not engage in petty power struggles.
What? She's up to no good. I know it. You may pass. Just stay out of trouble. Understand?
Aggressima, friend.
Looking for a pistol or craftsman? If you... Those are just things. Rawata...
Beat it. I don't have time to chit-chat. Not a chance, Aimika. Fasina sent you, didn't she? Soft as down, but not a single fence willing to pay me a fair price. Maybe they've got imp stink all over them. Here he comes, and I'm too late. If Hamuto doesn't give me an extension on my debt, I'm...
So, Berteno, you hired a mercenary? Or else a ghost?
Huh? No, I didn't. That is, I would never go behind your back. I
like dealing with people of substance. This is a private matter. Your interference is unnecessary. Do I? One can be adherent to the tenets of maritime law, and still be seen as a monster. Indentured servitude. I trust this is a more honest and respectable alternative than any pursuit he would take on his own terms. You must care a great deal for the 400 pyres are what Berteno owes. And I will accept that sum to have this sorry business concluded. Unacceptable. I will arrange to have Berteno taken into servitude, without incident. I would not want to end this arrangement with a loss. I'm not without patience. Berteno and I will await you at the Brass Citadel outside.
The former Lady of Cadnua, and one-time terrifier of harbor masters, if dockside tales are to be believed. You have not brought much good news of late. So, in addition to pirates, profiteers, and slavers, the Deadfire has a vengeful god roaming its waters? Tell that to my dead at Hasongo. Just what the archipelago needs. One more disaster tugging at the seams. He must be stopped. Anything can be stopped with sufficient force. The problem is finding the will to deploy it. The Valians won't lift a finger if it isn't to snatch a coin, and the Huana will barely do that much.
No? Tell it to the water shapers who washed your stranded boats from sandbars, Hazanui.
No one takes charge to solve the big problems. But perhaps we could work together to our mutual benefit. Look around. Deadfire's full of fertile, temperate islands. Except for Andra's mortar. It's largely free of rough weather. Yet much of it is uninhabited. Itinerant tribes drift between some of the islands, and smugglers and slavers cluster around the rest. It's a waste. Imagine what this place could be, with well-guarded shipping routes. How many Rawatayans we could feed with plantations here. The Valian Trading Company wants to leech every last coin they can from the Deadfire, no matter the eventual cost. They're little more than thieves. The Principi are actual thieves, no matter their pretensions of nobility. And the Juana are happy to let them all pick away at their fractured empire.
Where you see fractures, I see the lines of age.
Lines big enough to sail the Valian fleet through. We're interested in building something here. That's a naive view. One our enemies are keen to promote. Raotai's violent storms have shaped and hardened us as much as they have our homeland's rocky terrain. But it remains a difficult place to live. So, we rely on trade. And on plantations we've established here. And those developments also create a more stable, productive Deadfire. Glad you agree. If you're chasing the god who's stomping this place into the ground, then we have a common goal. And if you're going to survive here, then you could use an ally. The disaster at Hasongo remains a key concern. We rely on the port there to ship food back to Rawatai. That's on hold until you investigate. Short of that, there are other matters that demand attention. Atsura, our Grand Secretary, has a plan that would make use of your unusual talents. His office is downstairs. He can tell you more. It happened a year into my first command. We were chasing pirates along Rawatai's south coast, and they landed a shop right next to our magazine. A lucky hit. I ran below. The fire was already spreading and making for our powder stores. I smothered what I could with my uniform, pulled the rest away with my own hands. We don't get to choose our challenges, do we? Just the way we meet them. There's a cost to every victory. And the win goes to those willing to make a sacrifice. I'll bet you already know a thing or two about that. And if you don't, Deadfire will teach you soon enough. Hazatoa, Atsura and I usually have a game running. And this one's been going on for over a month and a half. Atsura's good at misdirection. but I've got a mind for the long game. You look like you've come with a purpose.
I always forget that part. Say, except the Hasanui. Oh, where's my... All this time, I didn't... It's just... You must have traveled lots, seen all sorts of amazing places. I sure hope to. I'd love Rawatai, but it's hard to go a week without seeing storms. I really wish maybe if you impress her or Atsura, they could make an exception.
Leave it to me.
By the kitchen.
They weren't that bad.
Watcher Nui, the Lady of Cadnua. I'm not one for ostentation, but your remarkable display at Queen's birth suggests that you are an individual with skills, not mere style. So I see. I am Atsura, Grand Secretary of the Royal Deadfire Company. And why not? Thousands of years ago, our people came from the archipelago. By one reckoning, we have as much claim on these islands as the Huana.
Does all Rawatayan law work this way? Where is that mountain of Azada shells I misplaced thousands of years ago?
But our purpose here is trade. While our homeland is rich in saltpeter, the violent climate and rocky soils make it a poor source for most other basic staples. It's my business to look after the mainland's interests here. That is a Valian frivolity. Leave it to them to observe a substance that occurs nowhere else on Aora, and immediately set about pulverizing it for profit. For now. But what will ultimately win out? The Valians' drive for innovation, or their hunger for wealth? Besides, we know too little about luminous Adra to understand the consequences of ripping it out. Perhaps you can help me keep them from doing more harm. It's not about what the Valians are doing to us, but rather to all of the Deadfire. The demand for luminous Adra has sent the Valian Trading Company into a frenzy. Their expeditions grow too bold, and their officers too greedy. Worse, their rapid expansion attracts pirates and threatens the outlying Huana tribes. This risks souring the Kahanga royals against all foreign involvement, but you can curtail their growth. By snapping up land we need to grow food and build ships for our people? Indeed. But our interests and Deadfire's are not mutually exclusive. The Valians have sent an expedition to Pococahara, a storm-wrecked island believed to house a vein of luminous. I hear you accomplished an incredible feat in restoring the luminous Adra near Port Maje. If your abilities allow you to do that, then perhaps you are also capable of the opposite. Find the luminous Adra at Pococahara. Render it unusable to the Valians.
aliens. This should encourage them to develop the resources they have, rather than reaching for more, deeply. But if a small sacrifice here will discourage the Valians from further ventures, then it is a worthwhile risk. For all their faults, they don't lack imagination. I'm confident they know of our intentions. Because governors like Clario are a rare breed. Most of the Valian administrators care little for the well-being of the Huana. If the Valians claim Poco Kahara, it is the locals who will truly suffer. Deadfire is a tumultuous place. Consider the value of an ally with ships, cannons, and the backing of a great empire. I do not have the precise location of Poco Kahara, but the tribe on the nearby island of Tikawara could probably help. I suggest starting there. Now, what else can I do for you? How do you mean that? Are you making advances at me? While I'm not opposed to casual assignations, I'm afraid my duties here leave me little time or energy. If that changes, I promise you'll be the first to know. How do you mean that? It comes from years of practice. It's a trading post, of course. Anything worth building is worth protecting.
Shed light upon my path.
Sure.
It's you.
God hears your prayers, surely as I do.
I can't believe it. Is that really you? And Adair, you made it out of Gilded Vale for good then. I'm glad.
A lot more might have made it out if you hadn't left them for dead.
I haven't forgotten. It's why I'm here, Adair. I kept to my word. I started trying to help around town like you told me. When the Hollowborn curse ended, it was like... You can't imagine what that meant to everyone. We had some good years. Then word came through that the Dawn Stars were coming out here. That the Shattered God was back to being the Shining God. Blazes, I tossed and turned about it. I figured there couldn't be a clearer sign. So now I'm doing what I can, handing out food mostly, or delivering supplies. Familiar work, I guess. Took some getting used to, working shoulder to shoulder with Raid Sarens, but it's not so hard as you'd think. Feels like I'm on the right path. To you too, eh? Don't know what you have to be sorry for. Would be nice to get some answers, maybe. Or forgiveness for getting his people killed. I don't know. Doing my best, lady.
Leave it to me. Here for a meal? Just get in line, dear. Ain't no trick to...
Hey, there's a lady I'm looking for. Came from Deerwood. Short, got a bad temper. It goes by Alava Mazzy. Heard of her?
I know an Alava, but that ain't a surname.
No?
Not real warm, that one. Stop by unannounced, you get a pistol up your nose when she answers the door.
Yeah, that's her. So, she's living with her, husband, then?
Not that I noticed.
Huh. Must be laying low.
Just that boy of hers.
She's got a son? How old would you say? Like a little boy?
Oh, I couldn't say. It's been years. He must be a young man by now.
Wow, that's, That's something. Well, thanks for your help.
Don't you want to know where to find her?
Yeah, I was just about to ask.
She's in Hasongo, last I heard. Got a little plot of land out there.
I guess we'll look that way then. Much obliged. Well, I meant that. I did. But there's this other thing I need to see about. On the way, like. I was gonna tell you. Thanks. I'm not sure I could anyway. This woman, well, love's not the right word. But she was something to me once, back in Gilded Vale. After the legacy ended, all I could think about was how to repair what the gods had done. To me, that meant seeing about making Aethasians feel safe in their own homes. That's how I found the night market. After a while of that, I got to thinking about the days just after the war, when we all stopped feeling safe in the first place. Mostly I thought of the woman I couldn't help, who had to leave her home in the dead of night carrying a little baby that had no soul. Last I saw her, she was going to New Hayamar. Went looking for her there, only to find that she'd left a long time ago. Anyway, I don't expect you to understand, but I gotta know she ended up all right. Yeah, that's something. Coming out of Deerwood during that time. I mentioned the baby she had when I knew her. That was a boy, too. I never found out what happened to him. But with the Hollowborn, you didn't have to ask. Guess he got a brother, though. No, but I don't see a way to let this go. Least a way's not now. Last time I saw Alava, we got friendly. Now she's got a son.
You ever long for the simple life, soldier?
Nah, where I'm from. Sometimes the simple life comes knocking on your door with the nooses and pitchforks.
Burned. Well, that won't do it all.
Watcher, what a surprise to see you again.
If the rioters in Defiance Bay knew he was here, they'd be on the next boat to Deadfire, with a cargo of rope and torches.
I see we've all moved up in the world, haven't we? Taking an interest in the sciences? Don't be ridiculous. We have a long line of well-paid volunteers. Of course, we can always use more. Any chance you have an interest? I assure you, you have nothing to fear from me. Always.
Hello. My apologies. I didn't see you there. I am fine. Is there some reason I shouldn't be? Which is not to say I do not appreciate your concern. I do. I, like the other scholars here, am engaged in the study of the soul sciences. Was there something you needed, or may I return to my studies? Indeed. I apologize if you find the sight of blood unsettling. Though, from your appearance, I would expect you to be well acquainted with it. In any case, why are you here? Just a bit of culture I've picked up along the way. I admire their tailoring tradition immensely. It's much grander than clothing one finds in The White That Wends. I am, of course. A curious mind is an agile mind. Besides, the two practices are more alike than one might think. Care and patience, yes. It is gratifying to be understood. It is a mundane story. I sought out the ship with the longest oversea route departing from the Republics and booked passage. I had intended to perform a handful of experiments regarding the nature of souls that could only be done safely at sea. The sensitive kind. My experiments were successful, and the ship eventually reached its destination. The rest is inconsequential. Many things. Currently, an unusual variety of Adra. It seems to exist only here, among the isles and waters of the Deadfire. There's a strange, almost melancholy beauty to the substance. I believe there is more to it than others know. I think, perhaps, that I would be grateful for the opportunity. I have a vested interest in luminous Adra, but acquiring it here can be expensive. You have a ship of your own and are clearly well-traveled. I suspect I would encounter more luminous Adra with you than I would on the streets of Nekataka. Truly?
I just know we're gonna be the best of friends.
Thaklat, traveler. I am grateful. I have all that I need. You may depart at your leisure.
I have matters to attend to as well, you know.
Captain. Or should I call you the Watcher of Cadnua? I confess that title. Something of a mouthful. How very informal of you. I think I would prefer something a bit more decorous. Captain it is, then. When you took me aboard, you neglected to mention that you were in pursuit of a rampaging deity. The Blue Colossus may be one of the defining events of the age. I count myself fortunate to bear witness to your investigation. Speaking of, let us return to it, yeah? A question, Watcher? Captain, do you require my expertise? It was neither so random nor so strange a thing as your question would suggest. In a word, animancy. The Republics take the most progressive attitude towards the subject, and thus they attract its foremost scholars, among whom I count myself. Increased tensions between the Republics and the Deerwood, for one. I had little interest having my experiments disrupted by some grudge-bearing bricklayer from Defiance Bay. Mostly, though, my studies demanded more luminous Adra than I could afford to import. So I sought out the source, very much so. Though I imagine you capable of finding someone much better suited to telling you of them. I spent most of my time in laboratories and libraries. I admit bias, but they are very likely the grandest in the world. Imagine great domes rising above your head, shelves along each wall stacked high with tomes, as if the building itself were built of bound pages. They were the true treasure of the Republics. The collected histories, dramas, and comedies of Old Valia. The most advanced arcane theories of Adir. The most ancient liturgical texts of Anguith. And the most advanced treatises on animancy. In a way, your ship reminds me of them. A dozen kith from every corner of Aora, working towards a common goal, while your crew pursues Aethys across the sea. Ours pursued the future, each chasing our own dawn. Many things. A strong, dark tea, a comic play, the song of a whale, the soft resistance of paper to quill, or fabric to needle. Discovering what's just over the horizon. There exists things in this world beautiful and wondrous both. One only needs leave the land to find them. Speaking of, let us see what the horizon holds, yeah?
Sure.
Leave it to me.
You don't mind if I talk and work, do you? What can I do for you? Sure thing, Amika. Comes with the job, doesn't it? Well, a few years in a deer will do that to you. Up to your armpits in jungle mud, insects, and snotty nobles. Probably would have been better off talking to the bugs. It took us a few months to adapt. A few bad shocks too before we finished proofing the machinery against rain. I like to think it lends it all a little drama, no? Besides, how better to honor Helia than with invention? Oh, things are much different here. The Huana may not have the same passion for the field as the Republics, but we understand we're doing research, not sacrificing children to wolves or whatever it is the Deerwood believes. So, no riots. Fortunately, news out of the Deerwood doesn't mean much to this lot. For now, nay? No trouble if you think of anything else, Amika. Not the coziest place for it, is it? But the open air, the lightning specifically, is a boon. Lets our mages have a rest now and then. Good test of the equipment, too. We're working on making it less delicate. Our junior researchers are still a little soft. Glad you ask, Amika. Very glad. We are very excited about the work here, and we are always looking for volunteers. We've catalogued a number of interesting properties unique to Luminous Adra, but there are some very specific qualities we are investigating. Qualities that a Watcher happens to be uniquely suited to exploring. You're just what we're missing. No, nothing invasive. You'd just be putting your Watcher's gift to use. Here, I'll explain. Luminous Adra has special effects upon Kith. Even to the humblest, it offers some small improvements. Rejuvenation, vitality, the kind of thing you sell to people back home, nay? But what about those who have already harnessed their own essence? Consider the talented cutpurse, for instance, who can cross a room by slipping briefly into another place. The world between. Luminous Adra holds enormous quantities of essence, the kind of energy we can't replicate or restore. And these formations have a kind of connection to each other across the in-between. I believe we can harness this connection and your natural abilities to transport a person across great distances in a moment. Oh, good. You've done some experimenting on your own. A curious mind is a happy mind, I say. Can't mope about ghosts all day. We've collected a number of illuminating readings, and our machines are ready to harness the Adra's essence. But for the moment, we are effectively blind when it comes to targeting the next pillar. Now, if someone were capable of sensing that essence in the in-between, even of manipulating it, someone like a Watcher, for instance. Precisely right. We've had luck with shorter jumps, but those were as much spellcraft as science. The idea is for you to focus on the next connection point. The machine will use that new link between the Adra veins to create a tether, as well as provide the energy for you to jump effectively. What's really exciting is, so long as you are holding that connection open, your companions can jump alongside you.
Sorry, which was the exciting part? I may have missed something.
The next pill is due east of here, in the middle of a farm. It's not as tall as this one, but you shouldn't have any trouble finding it. Oh, and don't worry. We paid the farmers.
There was that fellow that jumped a little too far over the edge.
Stop scaring our assistant. Gelarde. Very well. You stand there. Ansel, the machine. All right, Watcher. Remember, focus on the beam of light. It ought to be like stepping through a door. And remember, don't...
So, are we dead now? You're supposed to be the expert here. If I feel cold, which part of me is doing the feeling?
Let's go.
I don't think so.
You like that?
Why not?
Akira.
You up
A
there,
wave
run!
the size of a mountain.
We have to go. Can't. No, please. Help!
Of all my people, I am the last. I cannot die here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Curious, sir.
She tekasi bizu. Yeket tigewu tikiki.
I conquered every
Gods,
city of the Grey
an end
Lands.
at last.
They will remember
beg
my
you.
name. Why not?
The beast.
Hey, watch out.
The beast.
Hitting the water.
Quick, toss me something else.
Nice. Temporary boot.
Mow with Ixie on us. After him.
Speak freely. Afraid not, Captain.
That dog won't hunt.
A question, Watcher?
Let's do this. Let's go. Try something else.
Captain.
Mow with Ixie on us.
What have we here? A wayward watcher has wandered into my realm. Whatever should I do with you? You did not receive an invitation to my realm, Herald of Barath. Tell me, why should I not grind your soul to dust? I do not fear Barath's wrath. Embrace oblivion with open arms, Watcher. Do you fear dissolution after all? How droll, as much as it would delight me to scatter your soul. You belong to Barath. I will spare you that fate. For now. As intended. Now, on to the matter that brought you here. Your Animancer friends meddle in things beyond their comprehension. Were I not the generous creature I am, you would have died. Be sure to tell the Animancers that they have failed, and that they have drawn my gaze. I will not hesitate to obliterate them if they irritate me again. Of course you will. You might prepare yourself, Watcher, for something wondrous is on the horizon. Eothas will usher in an age glorious in its brevity. You will soon learn. In the meantime, enjoy the world as you know it while you can. And do send my regards to your Animancer friends.
But there was so much. So many more questions. How might I? Sure thing.
Of winter.
Sure.
Watcher, can you hear me? Oh, thank the gods. Thank Helia. Merla, you had us in a panic. I don't have to tell you it didn't work. The current spiked and you went completely still, breathing but nothing else. We sent for the physician. Myself, I was about to try throwing some water in your face. What happened? Did you feel any pain? Do you remember anything? You had some kind of vision? A near-death experience?
What was it like?
Sientere, Watcher, truly. It seemed we sent your mind further afield than intended, and without the rest of you in tow. Not entirely outside our predictions, but not the result we wanted. We have stipend for volunteers. You're welcome to the sum of it. I hope it goes some way toward earning your forgiveness. Just as I hope this hasn't put you off helping us. We just have to adjust the current, give you a chance to control your flight, for want of a better word. We're all very glad you're in one piece. We'll have a look at the machines, figure out what went wrong. Until then, I'm sure our friends at headquarters will want an update, and to see I haven't done you any permanent harm. We'll send word when we're ready here.
Could I have a moment of your time? I know someone who works in this tower. An animancer named Giacomo. I'd like to see him if we could. Agrasima. It should not take long. I have not seen him in many years, and I wanted to thank him.
Is this a glimmer of sentiment from our Iron Paladin? What, I wonder, could this fellow have done to merit it?
When I was a girl, he visited me in the academy. He was studying godlike. Studying what was in our souls that made us different from other Kith. He found something in me. Something that resonated like a chime when he held an instrument near me. He said it was like this for all godlike. Different chimes resonating for different types. Indeed, he told me he was heavily influenced by Tooth's work. I'm impressed, Watcher. In any case, he told me it was what was causing my body to change. I begged him to remove it. He refused at first, saying it was impossible. When I told him I would kill myself if he didn't, he said he would try.
It's hard to stand apart, especially when those differences are not easily hidden.
I don't expect you to understand, but I was 12. My body was changing in many ways. Being the only girl, the only godlike girl at the academy, was unbearable. Agrasima. Giacomo was not able to remove the chime, but he was able to sever it. When it happened, I blacked out. The Brotherhood ejected him from the academy for ruining their pet godlike. They assumed I would die. I did not. Over time, I lost most of my feathers. The shape of my nose changed. It was not enough to make me fully Kalbandra, but it was enough to keep me from wanting to die. When I looked in a mirror, what I saw was not a godlike. Not something to be paraded around. It was me. Finally, me. Yes, technically. The point is that it changed me. It saved me. This is important to me. Without Giacomo's help, I would be dead now. If we can speak to him inside the tower, I would be grateful.
Hope you're keeping busy, Watcher. We're still... What can I do for you? Giacomo? Ak, I know him. He has a little laboratory for himself down in the gullet. His specialty is godlike. Claims he can detect them in the womb. Giacomo rents a room in Cozy, the Hole, which is that grimy tavern down below. Why he seeks to bury himself, you will have to ask him yourself. Not many animancers down there, so he should be easy to find, if they haven't stolen all his equipment. Or at Ogori,